Greetings, travelers! Welcome back to Tales from the Enchanted Forest with your hosts, Fox and Sparrow.
Good day, mate. Welcome back. It's been a minute, but I'm very excited to be back here. And I think this is going to be our last episode of the summer, which I can't believe it's already like this far into the year. Like where on earth did the year go, Fox?
I don't know. We do this every year where we're like, oh, it's now halfway through the year. Oh, wait, no. Now it's more than halfway through the year. Wait, it's now December. At least we're enjoying life.
It's kind of a good sign that like things are happening, but this is also kind of getting me excited because it does mean we're getting back. We're going to soon be back into the fall season, which means we can start talking about our like more spooky episodes.
Yes, and those are some of like, I really love the fall episodes, the fall aesthetic. I'm here for some crisp air and, I want sweaters, but not, sweaters to the point where you need a sweater and a jacket. Just a nice sweater, a nice coffee to take on a walk. I'm very much into the fall mood. And for the 1 week where the trees actually change color here, it will be the most glorious week. And the crunch of leaves on the ground when like they have like that really satisfying crunch. I think fall is my favorite season. Fall and spring. I like the transition seasons the most.
I actually don't know anybody whose favorite season is winter or summer. Like, spring and fall are just so nice because there's in between, there's stuff happening. It's usually not too hot, not too cold. Yeah, I would agree. I think fall is also my favorite. I really love a nice, big, bulky scarf. And I feel like fall is actually the only time of year I can do it. Like, winter, you can kind of do it, but it's not the same when you are wearing like a bulky jacket with a bulky sweater or scarf. I really like the just like light jacket or like sweater or whatever with the big scarf.
Yes, I like having just enough to feel cozy, not needing 100 layers just to feel warm. I don't want to have to wear things just to feel warm outside. That being said, I am really looking forward to skiing this season, so we'll have to see.
Yeah.
But at the same time, bike rides, walks, there's so many things you can do in the fall. I just think summer, I know we always talk about the weather, but I was reading something recently and it kind of said that seasons aren't really defined so strictly anymore, in the sense that before you could usually tell, oh, this is the summer season, this is the kind of weather to expect. Whereas now it's so different because the concept of in summer, it's like this. In fall, it's like this. In winter, it's like this. It's kind of going away, especially with global warming. So even this summer, it was very wet, and then it was very hot, and there was almost no in between. So you were either not going outside because you physically could not survive if you were going to spend all day outside without having tons of water, tons of shade, and tons of sunscreen. So it'd been, kind of bad to do that. But also the humidity. So you don't want to go outside anyway. But then on days when you could go outside, it was raining.
This is true.
So kind of, it's a bit weird. It's like a mishmash of seasons, but at least in the fall when it rains, you're expecting it to rain. You're expecting the coolness and, you have everything prepared. And so my husband makes fun of me because he goes, what are you going to do when the seasons stop being seasons and you can't put away the clothing at the end of the season? I'm like, I don't know. I genuinely don't know because I think we would have to downsize or get a bigger closet because I really like the change of the wardrobe. I think that is one of my favorite things to do, like when you're getting all of your bulky stuff out, the winter coats, the hats, the gloves, all the sweaters, all the big thick socks. It's such a nice. But then that gets you in the mood. Like getting all that stuff out is so much fun. And putting the summer stuff away. Although that might just be me.
So all that to say, I'm looking forward to the fall season, so we can enjoy like our coats and like whatever outfits and stuff that we want to wear and just enjoy that crisper weather. But I was thinking like, it's been hot this summer. And do you know what else is hot?
No, what else is hot?
Fire. Fire's hot.
Would have never guessed.
And that is what's going to bring us to today's story. Sometimes, dear travelers, we have really personal reasons for picking stories, and sometimes we find just wild stories, and sometimes this is the logic that goes through. You're like, you know what? It's hot. Fire's hot. What if we did a story about fire?
Oh, what's your reason for picking this story? It's hot. But you know what? That's fine.
Hot stuff. I wanted to bring you a piping hot story fresh off the press, and it's just fire. This story's on fire. It's gonna be great. Anyways, so today's Australian folk tale comes to us from the 1896 book Australian Legendary Tales by K. Langloh Parker. This book covers a lot of different stories coming from Australian Aboriginal or First Nations people. There's a lot of words here that I'm going to do my best to pronounce, but like always, I'm not prolific in these words, so I'm going to just do my best, but my apologies if they're mispronounced. So that's what's going to happen here. This story in particular I found was interesting because I actually found this story also in another book, so this is was able to actually cross-reference the story. Sometimes when you're finding stories, it's really hard to find other people validating, oh yeah, I've heard this story too and stuff, so this was kind of exciting for me to be like, oh, this not just this one author kind of reporting on it, there's other people who have know the story and kind of retell it in their own ways. So going back to the idea of fire, I feel like the way people's origin stories around fire are often interesting because it's usually so important for human civilization. Thinking about starting off, you tell stories around a fire. It's one of the things that really separates us from other animals. No other animals can create fire. And I was even reading something, and who knows how true this is, but I was reading something that said one of the reasons our brains develop so much is that we were able to get more food nutrition from fire by cooking our food, because we were able to get more nutrition from it since it's already cooked up and stuff, and that helped develop our brains.
Yes, that is true.
Oh, there you go.
Yes, that's I think when we talk about evolution, one of the big changes, so I know a lot of people attribute tool use to why humans developed the brains that they did, but one of the big popular branches is that it wasn't just tool use, because apes and chimpanzees also use rudimentary tools. It's the use of having fire, and having these long, dark nights now become a time when you can stay awake and you can tell stories and you can be social, because during the day when there's daylight, the animals are awake and you need to be moving and gathering, and you need to be doing all sorts of things and just survival tasks. And so when the night starts, that's kind of bedtime. But with fire, you could stay awake. And better than stay awake, you can stay safe in the night. So other animals aren't going to come near you if they don't know, what is this glowing thing? And, you can use it to protect yourself as well. So this is kind of where we think socialization started to happen. And where people would sit around the fire, and they wouldn't necessarily tell stories right away or talk, but they would at least be together in closeness, and you would have communities start to develop. And so fire is one of the reasons why we are very different, and why our brains develop, why we have the right windpipes to speak and to breathe and to eat, and why we can form language. And so there's all these things that come from fire. So that is a correct thing that you read.
Okay, cool. It was one of those things I read in passing where I didn't have a source for it, so I wanted to clarify. But if you've already read this before and know it to be true, then yeah. So that's some fun tidbits for you right off the bat. Fire's cool, man. We're not just pyros. Fire be cool. So without further ado, let us tell the tale of Bootoolgah, the crane, and Goonur, the kangaroo rat, the Firemakers. Long, long ago, when Bootoolgah, the crane, was married to Goonur, the kangaroo rat, fire had not yet been discovered. Now, I already want to pause here. Fox, do you know what a kangaroo rat is?
No.
Dear travelers, if you don't know what it is, I want you to take a minute to Google an image of it and take a look at it, and I want your opinion on it.
This is a real animal? Oh, it's so cute.
It's so cute.
It's so cute. Oh my god, it's like a chibi mouse.
It's a chibi mouse.
It doesn't even look like a rat.
Yeah, so that's why I was like, I wanted to understand what I was envisioning for this. Because already the idea of a crane married to a rat of some sort, I was like, interesting pairing. I'm here for it. But what does this rat look like? And then I just had that moment where I was like, oh my gosh, it's so cute. So I needed to make sure that you and our dear travelers understood that this is actually adorable.
This is so cute.
This is an adorable little creature.
Not what I thought a kangaroo rat would look like.
Right? And I think I've seen an image of it hopping. It kind of hops like a little bit like a kangaroo. It's adorable. Anyways. So I just need to set the stage for just like our audio listeners. How would you describe this? It's like a little ball almost, but it's got like kangaroo-like feet and it's got huge eyes. So it just looks very cute. I don't know how else to describe it.
I would just like a fluffy rat that has giant feet.
But it looks more like a mouse than a rat.
Yeah, that's the thing. It doesn't have like a sharp snout or like a long snout.
Yeah, think of like more of a mouse, a bit bigger eyes, a bit of a longer tail, and the kangaroo feet. And it just does the little hop like a kangaroo, but it's tiny. So it's adorable.
So cute.
So I want you to keep the image of this tall crane with this adorable little kangaroo rat. And that's the couple that we're focusing in on today. Now, since they had no fire, creatures would just need to eat their food raw or let it dry in the sun. One fateful day, when Bootoolgah rubbed 2 pieces of wood together absent-mindedly, he saw a faint spark appear, followed by a slight smoke. Excited by this development, he showed his wife, Goonur, the smoke he was able to make with the little wood he had. He proposed that it would be good to make fire for themselves, which they could use to cook food quickly, and not need to wait so long for the sun to dry it out. Now, this is one of those times where I feel like using animals in place of humans doesn't actually make sense for the story. Like, first of all, kangaroo rats, they just don't eat meat. They eat seeds, some like vegetation, and on rare occasions like an insect.
Okay.
And even for the crane that does eat small critters and fish, its stomach is meant to consume meat raw and uncooked. So this like dilemma of cooking or drying food is really human specific, and kind of like we discussed earlier, this is how humans evolved. It's the way that we are, is by cooking it. So it just feels a little weird to hear these two animals being like, how are we going to cook our food?
Maybe they're over just eating food raw.
Like food connoisseurs. All right, I can respect that.
Why should humans have all of the fun?
It's true. Goonur thought that this was an excellent idea. She directed Bootoolgah to take the sticks and rub them together on an opening in some bark next to the grass. She thought that even a single spark could be enough to alight a flame. As predicted, after much effort, a spark lit the grass, creating a small fire which burned the bark. With this successful attempt, the couple had discovered the new art of fire making. Now that they had access to this game-changing ability to create fire, they decided that instead of sharing this knowledge with the community so that everyone could enjoy cooked meals, they would keep it a secret from everyone. And so everything changed when the Fire Nation did nothing? Question mark? But seriously, I feel like thinking of like other culture stories of like getting fire and stuff, this feels like Prometheus would be really jealous if he just found out you could create fire with a couple sticks instead of having to steal it from the gods.
Well, that's why you can create fire with just sticks, is because the concept of fire comes from the gods.
But you think if the concept of it, he could have just also used the sticks to show us.
No, he couldn't. He had to steal it from the gods.
Probably should have reread that whole story before I made that throwaway joke. But, you know what?
I wouldn't be so picky, but I'm like, no, Prometheus is the hero. He's not, he didn't do it because he's the man.
This is what this podcast is about. You got to call me out on this stuff. If I didn't do the full 9 yards in researching it, I just remembered that Prometheus stole fire, and I was like, ah. On the other hand, these people just casually discovered it.
Well, I mean, technically, fire was probably discovered by humans through lightning strikes and by chance anyway. So I think this is less about the Greek myth. Because fire, you don't really understand the concept of how to make fire until you get the concept of sparks. So we must have gotten that from something being set on fire through a lightning strike. And then we were like, oh, we can try and recreate this. When we hit these two stones together, what happens? It looks kind of like that thing that was from the sky, that fell from the sky, or whatever we think the fire was.
That's fair. So if all stories end up being related, then this probably had to happen after Prometheus' thing, because these guys couldn't have figured out fire before then. Anyways, they decided they would cook food in secret away from prying eyes. So they took the fire sticks and hid them in a pouch that they always wore. The next day, when they caught a fish, they cooked it up with their new fire technique. When they returned to camp, they brought back some leftover fish with them. The others at the camp noticed that the fish looked quite a bit different from the sun-dried fish they were used to. So they asked the couple what they did to the fish. The couple told them that they left it to dry in the sun like always. But the others were not convinced by this obvious lie. Regardless, Bootoolgah and Goonur stuck to their story. Every day after that, the two would catch a fish and then disappear for a time, only to return with their food looking different from everyone else's. Being unable to get information out of the pair, the tribe decided that they needed to keep a close eye on them in order to understand what was happening. The plan was to have Bluesky, the night owl, and Quarian, the parrot, follow the two when they disappeared to see what they were doing. They didn't have to wait long. For the next day, when the couple caught their fish, they stealthily made their way into the bush with their haul. Bluesky and Quarian tracked them as they skulked away, and while hidden in the high foliage of the trees, they saw everything. They observed how they took the fire sticks out of their pouch, rubbed the sticks together, and coaxed a fire into a small flame with foliage, and then turned into a bigger flame with bigger sticks. After the fire died down, they saw the couple place the fish on the remaining burnt wood. The two scouts returned to the tribe and reported what they had seen. Discussion focused on debating how they could get the pouch which contained the fire sticks. You see, many individuals at the camp had tasted the fish the couple had cooked using the fire, and all really liked the flavors and wanted more. And of course, they couldn't just ask them to share the fire sticks. They needed to be sneaky. See, this is where they're kind of dumb. Why are they bringing evidence of their deeds back to camp?
Well, if they're supposed to be human-like, humans are dumb. And this is definitely something that a human would do.
Honestly, fair. That's true. I mean, I feel like also people with like lies after a while, they tend to kind of get lazy about it because they're like, oh, I've gotten away with it for so long. It's fine. But these guys immediately were like, we'll just bring leftovers. Like, I can also imagine they've like burnt the fish as well, so it's like charred, and they're trying to pass it off like, yeah, the sun did that.
But also, I feel like the smell would be the biggest thing because cooked food smells so different from raw food. Yeah. So how are you going to hide that? Especially meat. Like, oh, the smell of like sizzling meat is so different from the smell of just raw meat, which smells like nothing really. So I don't know how you're going to hide that evidence. But maybe they were just so caught up in the fact that, wow, this is great. This is delicious. They didn't know that they should have been hiding the evidence.
Yeah, I also don't really know why they were hiding it from everyone to begin with. Like, they don't explain what they're concerned about. Like, if they had said, oh, we're concerned that, like, someone's going to abuse this power or something, it's like, okay, then. But they just seems like they're like, no, we don't want anyone else to have cooked meat. We just want to have this for ourselves, which I don't understand. So they devised an elaborate heist. They planned to distract the couple with a big dance party, which would lower their guard. The hawk was to feign sickness and lie down near the couple. He would watch them, like a hawk, and would snatch the pouch when they would least suspect it. Happy with this plan of attack, they went to work planning the party and inviting all the neighboring tribes, especially the ones known for their beautiful dancing. All the tribes eagerly accepted the invitation. It seemed each tribe was excited for the event and determined to outshine the others. As the day of the party finally arrived, each tribe arrived adorned in elaborate colors and designs. Needless to say, it was very bright and a lively event. All tribes eagerly accepted the invitation. It seemed each tribe was excited for the event and determined to outshine the others. As the day of the party finally arrived, each tribe arrived adorned in elaborate colors and designs. Needless to say, it was a very bright and lively event. Of course, Bootoolgah, the crane, and Goonur, the kangaroo rat, attended the grand party as well. Though Bootoolgah warned Goonur that they could not join with the dance, but rather could only watch it, as they needed to carefully guard the fire sticks. She agreed, and they both grabbed seats nearby to watch the dancers perform. As the dance went on, Goonur became more and more absorbed in the performance, and the pouch slipped from her arm. Bootoolgah quickly noticed this, picked it up, and gave it back to her, and reminded her that she needed to keep a close eye on it. Unbeknownst to them, the hawk was right behind them and had almost swiped the pouch in that moment. Frustrated, the hawk composed himself and continued to feign illness, but never let his eyes waver from the pouch. Soon, the most talented tribe began to dance, and their moves captivated all watching. They started with a beautiful, elegant performance before moving to a more comedic but challenging movements. During this, Goonur found herself laughing, and the pouch slipped right off her arm once more. Ditching his disguise, the hawk lunged forward, sliced open the pouch, and grabbed the fire sticks. He quickly took them and set fire to the nearby grass before the couple realized what had happened. But as soon as they noticed, Bootoolgah chased after the hawk. As the hawk ran away, he continued to use the sticks to create another fire. Seeing all the fires and how fast the hawk was, Bootoolgah realized that it was useless to pursue him, for the fire had already become common property for all the tribes that had assembled there. Well, now we know who started the fire. And that is the tale of the Firemakers. So, a bit of a shorter story, but I thought it was kind of cute to see their way of going about, one, hiding the fire, and then how it ended up becoming common property for everyone. I also like how probably unsaid thing was that the whole place burned down because the hawk was just starting fires left, right, and center.
Yeah, and also starting a fire is so much easier than you would think once you actually have the fire there. I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, it's easier to grab fire.
Yeah, it's easier to grab fire than to start a fire. So once you actually have a fire made, then you can actually spread it around. But I'm trying to say that once a fire is actually created, it's easy to spread it around, but the actual act of making a fire in the first place is really hard. And this comes from my personal experience with my in-laws' fireplace.
Oh yeah, did you have to have two sticks to rub it together and
No,
get it going?
At least if it was that, I could have an excuse. It was kindling, and it was like one of those long matches, and it was dry pieces of wood, like literally firewood, like the exact perfect situation to make a fire. And my fires just wouldn't. They would start, but they wouldn't grow bigger, and they would just kind of die out. And I think one of the main problems is I wasn't giving them enough air, and I was putting on too many big pieces of firewood before the fire could actually catch.
It's hard. It's hard creating fire.
Yeah.
So, kudos to them. Also, this hawk did it so quickly. I don't know how he was able to get the fire going just while running.
Maybe it was just the rage. How dare they keep it from us?
Yeah, but also, why didn't they just try and take two other sticks and replicate it instead of just trying to steal the two sticks that they had?
Well, maybe they thought it was like a specific magical thing, or...
That makes sense. But I like how they also inadvertently had, like, because of the distraction they chose, the fire then was brought to all the tribes. It wasn't just the one tribe. Because if they had somehow managed to get it from them without it, like without doing this party scheme, it would have just been theirs and theirs to control. And then the other tribes would have been like, what? How do we do that? But because they did it in that fashion, everyone got it.
I like the idea of having the animals be the ones who kind of turn on each other, but then they also all benefit from it, as opposed to a human story. Because you can see how, I don't know if you remember when we did the, how the moon was made.
Oh, I remember that one.
That one was also really interesting. but it was more like there was spirits and they were stealing the fire, and it was a very complex story that had a lot of questions of, well, where is this fire coming from? How are you stealing it? Where in the underworld are you going? So this one, I feel like when you have these stories, and I think the title of the book was something about, for children. So it makes sense that you would use animals to get the ideas across of, well, the kangaroo represents this. And the animals all represent different traits, as opposed to being like, well, this is a human. Because then if it's humans, then you have a lot of questions of, well, why did they do that? Where did it come from? How did they learn it? Why couldn't they just do this? Whereas with animals, you can just say they were animals who had human traits.
But yeah, I do think you're right. Like, with it being geared towards children, as it kind of is alluded to in the book itself, does kind of talk about this as being told for kids and stuff. It kind of makes sense that this is all like animal themed, and it's kind of a little bit more simpler. But it's still interesting take on it, and it is a lot less complicated than the New Zealand How the Moon Was Made story. Although now I'm thinking about how many stories have we covered where fire is the main element? Like, we talked about how important it is for a human civilization, but I'm not sure how many stories we've actually covered where that's been the main thing that's a struggle over.
I feel like there's been a couple now where we've talked about, well, we've done a lot of creation stories. We've talked a lot about where humans come from or where certain animals come from. And I feel like fire is one of those things that almost every culture, just like we have the Sky Woman stories and how, people came to be stories, fire is one of those things that every kind of group that we've looked at, they all have their own version of where it came from. And like you were saying earlier with Prometheus, that's also a version of how man got fire. And it's one of those explanatory myths, because we want to know why. Why did we get fire and not other animals? Why did we know how to use it? How did we learn to use it? Where did it come from? So sometimes by including gods, or by including animals, or by including, chance, or even stealing it, it's a way to understand where it came from and the origins of fire. Mm-hmm. And also, some of these stories, these were oral stories. So when you were thinking about what story to tell, you might be thinking, well, what is important to us? What do we value? And a big thing that a lot of cultures valued was fire. I'm just trying to think. I'm pretty sure, so How the Moon Was Made was a fire story, because they were trying to steal fire, and then they accidentally made the moon instead.
It was a while ago we covered that story.
Yeah. And just from Australia, we had a bunch of like the dream time stories, but I can't remember if any of those included fire. We did the story of the rainbow serpent, and that was kind of how Australia was formed and shaped, but it wasn't really about fire. I can't actually think of any besides the How the Moon Was Made, but I'm pretty sure we've done a couple of fire ones.
And now we're just really reminiscing. Dear travelers, thanks for joining us on this journey. And maybe if you remember what fire stories we told, let us know and remind us that, we covered this on this story. We would love to know that. And if there's any other fire tales you want us to tell, let us know. And Fox is going to give you the details on how you can do that.
If you want to learn about more than just how fire was made, then you can join us on social media sites like Bluesky. We are under the podcast name, or @FromEnchanted. However, if you are old school like Sparrow, then you can always email us at talesfromenchantforest@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your questions, comments, and suggestions. Or if you want to tell us any other stories that we've told that include fire, we would love to hear about that too. So please don't hesitate to contact us.
And remember, there's always a place for you in the Enchanted Forest.